everyone, and Happy New Year. I'm so excited to be back here after a long holiday hiatus from AskAmy. Really excited to be back, and I have some great questions. You guys have been sending me excellent questions, so really looking forward to these AskAmy Mondays in 2018, and continue to send your questions. There's never too many. Someday they'll end, probably. I don't know, maybe not. They haven't so far, but send questions. I usually get to them within a few weeks of getting them. So definitely, if you have a question you'd like for me to address, or even just a topic, it doesn't have to be a specific question or thing you're struggling with, but just anything around this understanding or whatever it is that you'd like to hear me speak more about, go ahead and send that too, and maybe it'll make it in the lineup. So today I have a question from Wendy, which I'm really excited about. She sent this a while ago, and I told her right away. I said, Wendy, this is going to be an excellent topic for me to tackle on the next AskAmy in the new year. So Wendy writes, why is it that when I first wake up in the mornings and I head to the gym, I have the most clarity? I'm positive, clear-minded, and convinced I can do anything and that my business really can be successful. As the day moves on, by noon, I'm like, what the hell are you thinking? All the negativity beats me down by the end of the day. I used to look at this positivity as my bipolar side, false, not real. But through your work, I'm seeing some truth and I'm seeing it as truth and maybe something I can trust. Is this normal? So I love this, Wendy, and I love this in part so much. One, I think this is just a really common thing. I actually tend to get it in the reverse. When I first wake up, I'm filled with all kinds of garbage. But as I just get up and go through my day, it just tends to kind of thin out. So you kind of have it going the opposite way, right? You're kind of hopeful and cheerful and everything looks great. And then the garbage starts to kind of pile up as you go through the day. It doesn't matter. Same thing, right? So we'll look at that. But one of the reasons, I think the reason why I love this question so much is how you say in here that you used to look at the positivity. So the early morning, hopeful, cheerful kind of stuff, you used to look at that as, oh, that's just that bipolar me, or that's the false me, or that's what I can't trust. And now you're starting to question if maybe that's flipped. And I'll tell you, I mean, that flip right there was one of the hugest things, maybe the biggest, most helpful thing I've ever seen in my entire life. I mean, that can start to change everything, because as a lot of you know, I've written about this a lot. I had a similar flip. I used to think I was anxious. I was the anxiety. I was the bad habits. I was all these behaviors and things and, icky feelings that I didn't like. And every once in a while, I would get a break from those, as we do, right? Everyone gets breaks. So I would also feel light and clear and positive and hopeful. But just like you, Wendy, I used to think, oh, I don't know why I got this break. Like, why was I just blessed with a sudden break from me? So I was the anxiety and the icky stuff, and this break was a fluke. That's just truly the way it looked for a really long time. And see, when it looks that way, we're just caught up in all this thinking that we are this, so that when you start to feel, in your case, you start to feel hopeless or like your business can't succeed or whatever, that starts to feel comfortable. That feels like home. And you think, oh, this is me. This is the truth of it. Now, what do you think that does to those feelings? I mean, you just fall right into them, right? It just gives it this whole sense of truth and reality. And then you start to see the hopefulness, and the flip side of that is just this weird anomaly. And it's really easy to just brush that off. We just write it off like, oh, well, I don't know. I guess I'm just in some weird good mood right now. And we think we don't give that any truth or any real weight that it deserves. So what I saw, and I wish that I could reach in everyone's head and do this flip for them, but I can't. We have to see it ourselves. You can hear me say it a million times. You can hear lots of people say it a million times, but for it to impact you, it has to look true to you. Like, you have to start to feel the truth of this. So I really want you to just take this with you and carry it around. And everyone listening to this, really take this and kind of try it on and say, what if what you're starting to see, Wendy, is the real way it is? So what if the real you is showing up first thing in the morning? That's the clarity. That's the energy you feel. That's the hopefulness. That's just you going to the gym, waking up, getting your day started, you just being you. And that's when you're seeing clearly. And you know it by the feeling. Actually, the feelings of clarity and the lightness, that's showing us that's who we are. That's our nature. That's who you are. So what if, again, you might not believe this yet, but just take this as a what if. So what if that's the truth? And then as you go through your day, your mind wakes up. It takes a little while. Maybe your mind is just slow to wake up. That's good for you. But eventually it wakes up, right? And it starts saying, who do you think you are? What do you think you're doing? You know, this is never going to work. That's never going to work. So your mind starts, but the problem is not that. Now that, again, that's something that happens to people all day, every day. Our mind is constantly talking and telling us, who do you think you are? And this won't work and all kinds of garbage. So that just makes you just like every other human on earth. That's not a problem. The problem is, if we want to call it a problem, when this starts up, Wendy, that feels like you. You start to take that seriously and you're like, oh, I was right. I can't do this. I'm never going to go anywhere. This business isn't going to take off. You know, who was I thinking? What was I thinking in the morning? That was just crazy me. That's the problem. So the problem becomes not what shows up in our head, because we're not in charge of that. All kinds of stuff shows up in everyone's heads all the time. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. It comes, it goes. We don't do it. It's not us. It's not ours. But what matters is what we make of it. You know, what we believe about it and what we take on as kind of us and our identity. And if you're taking on you from noon on, if you're saying this is reality, this is me, this is the truth of my life, well, that's going to suck. But if you can start to flip that and say, what if that clarity in the morning is me? And this other stuff that happens later, that's just thinking that shows up. You're not thinking it up, Wendy. You wouldn't do that to yourself. You don't want to be caught up in all that. It's just showing up because you have a brain. That's what happens with us humans. We have brains and they like to talk and they like to tell the same old stories, and they especially tell stories that we identify with and that we give a lot of attention to. So when noon rolls around and suddenly you're feeling hopeless about a bunch of stuff, you're not doing this on purpose. I really want to stress that. This is not your fault. But innocently, that like, oh, it's back and I was crazy to think I could do anything and all that kind of stuff, that gives that thinking so much weight. It's like it just brings it to life in a way that it doesn't deserve to be brought to life, because it's not true. It's not the truth. The truth is what feels light and clear. It's interesting, like I mentioned, I kind of have this in reverse, and people have it, you know, but one of the things that was so helpful for me in this too, is just not caring. And now we can say all day long, oh, just don't care how you feel. And of course we care how we feel. Of course we do, right? But what really helps in not caring, if you want to put it that way, is seeing it accurately. So if I wake up in the morning and my mind's full of all this heavy stuff, and then, like I said, as I get up and go through my day, it just kind of goes out and things, I feel like myself again. But when I used to wake up in the morning and think, what's wrong with me? Why am I like dreading getting out of bed? Or I really want to, like, I wish I could wake up and feel really excited about the day. When I had all that thinking about my thinking, it was a big mess. I would wake up, there'd be some heaviness there, and then I would like pile all this other heaviness on top of it. You shouldn't feel this way, and you should feel that way, and what does this mean about you? It's a mess. But when I stopped doing that, and I didn't stop doing that as a practice, I simply stopped doing that naturally because I saw what I was doing. I saw, wow, this thought, this thinking that's there in the morning, it's not me. It's just moving through. Why would I pay attention to it? Why would I take it personally? Why would I think it means anything about my life? It's not even there at noon. So how can it mean something about your life if it's there at 6 in the morning, but it's not there at noon? Or for you, the reverse. If it's not there at 6, but it shows up at noon, how true can it really be? How meaningful and personal and about your life can it really be if it's only there for a part of the day? These are the things that we start to kind of just question and get curious about. And as we do that more and more, you just start to see this little shift. So Wendy and everyone, this is so huge. biggest thing, really, really, one of the most helpful things I think I've ever learned is this flip in the paradigm. We are not the heavy feelings. We are not the problems. None of that is us seeing clearly. The lighter we feel, the more hopeful we feel, the clearer we feel, that's us seeing life in a clearer way. And simply because we don't have as much on our minds. We're just the consciousness. We're the awareness of life showing up through us. And the more we start thinking, and that's not us thinking, the more your little mind, your little ego brain starts thinking, who do you think you are? Your business is never going to go anywhere. All this kind of stuff, right? All this. As soon as this wakes up, not you. And you'll know by the feeling. There's a reason it feels heavy. It feels heavy to get your attention so you can not trust it, not listen to it, not pay attention to it. And when life starts to look that way, when we make that shift where we see, wow, anytime I'm not feeling great, it's not a problem, but it's also not something I want to trust or take too seriously. I mean, it just gets so much easier from there because you feel heavy, you don't care much, you don't give it much attention, it passes, and then you feel yourself again. So it's a huge shift. It's just turning things on its head. We're so used to paying so much attention to the heaviness and taking it seriously. And if we can just start to flip that, everything changes and gets much, much easier. So I hope this is helpful. Thank you so much for a great question, Wendy. And I love that even as you wrote this, you were already seeing it. You were already questioning, like, maybe that happiness isn't the false me. Maybe that's kind of the true me. And you're right on with that. It is the true you. So thank you so much, guys, for listening. So excited to be back, and I love doing these. So send any questions or topics you have to AskAmy at thelittleschoolofbigchange.com, and I'll see you back here next Monday. Bye.